Hello, everyone. I see we've only got one attendee so far, Jenny, so we might give it another couple of minutes, see if we get a few more. Have you taken the Friday off to make it an extra long weekend, Jenny, or are you having to work through?
No, we've actually shut down for the day. So everybody gets a day off.
Oh, that's brilliant. I am sure everyone's going to very much appreciate that.
Absolutely. Lots of them are going away for long weekends, so that's really nice.
Yes.
Taking their
Yes.
families and what have you, so super cool.
Oh, well, let's hope the weather holds around the country.
Yeah, I'm not too sure what it's supposed to
do. Fingers crossed.
Yeah.
All right, well, we've got a few people sort of rolling in. It is 12 o'clock. The session is recorded. So I think we probably will just get into it just for the sake of, keeping everyone on time. And I'll make sure that I post this on the website for those who are coming in a little bit later. So, welcome, Jenny. So, Jenny, you're here to talk to us a little bit about the journey of New Zealand women in roofing, how it all sort of began, and where we're at now. I'm sure we're going to have a few questions. So for those of you who guys are sitting in, I am allowing the use of microphones and camera. Do ask you that you mute whilst Jenny is speaking, and then we'll have an opportunity to answer some questions. So I'll encourage you then to, turn on your camera or your microphone, and ask any questions that you may have. I'll pass it on to Jenny now. I'll get Jenny to introduce herself and let us know a little bit about how you got into sort of the roofing scene, Jenny.
Yeah, thanks very much, Jen. It's my pleasure to have been asked to actually share a little bit about the journey now that we're 5 years into it. It's a great idea to actually give people some of that background that started way back in 2017 for us. But firstly, I'm Jenny Maxwell, and I'm a part owner with my husband Nathan and CS Roofing Canterbury. I've been in the roofing industry since 2010. It wasn't my first job. I actually came from a banking background and spent 25 years working for a bank. So it was a huge change and a massive opportunity for me to actually come into the roofing industry. Nathan has been in the roofing industry since the very early 90s, 1990s. That's last century.
Thank you for clarifying that.
Yeah, just to clarify that one. So I knew a lot about roofing. So, you learn about osmosis, just chit chat after work and that sort of stuff. So it wasn't a huge stretch for me to move into the roofing industry, but there certainly was a lot to learn. Yeah.
Awesome. So how did this idea of New Zealand Women in Roofing start? Like what prompted that? How did this all begin?
Yeah, so it's an interesting story in that way back in 2017, Nathan and I had decided to go to the International Roofing Expo in New Orleans. It was that year in America. And upon registering for the event, I saw that there was a National Woman in Roofing Day. And I thought, oh, that sounds quite interesting. And Nathan wanted to go and spend a day fishing in the bayous in New Orleans. So, well, I'll go and do this. Bit scary, bit daunting to go into, something I knew nothing about. And literally, I knew nothing. I just knew it was a day that women from the roofing industry in the United States came together. But I fell in love with the idea right at the beginning. The women that I met were absolutely amazing. And so many of these stories were so similar to the stories that I heard about, or knew of women in the industry in New Zealand. and they had only just recently started. I think they were only 3 years into it, back in 2017 when I first went. And it was just, I came back here and I was just so excited about the possibility of thinking, what could something like that look like here in New Zealand? So I talked to anybody who would listen, basically, and I think a lot of people got sick and tired of me talking about it. But in 2018, I had actually convinced the Roofing Association to allow me to have a little stall at the roofing conference that year. And it was really just to get a sense of, was there an appetite for it in New Zealand? Was it something that the women within the roofing industry, New Zealand's roofing community, would actually see as a benefit of having something specifically there to, you know, and if we go back to the 4 pillars, you know, looking at the education, looking at the mentoring, the networking and the recruitment, was it something that people were interested in? And I think after that few days at the roofing conference, I think I had about 40 or 50 names on the list of people who actually said, I would be super interested in being involved in something like this. So that's really the genesis of it. And then it moved into me talking with the women who were running National Women in Roofing in the United States, and asking them about, you know, could we join them? You know, because to me that seemed like an easy fit. You know, they'd already done all the
work smarter, not harder.
Yeah, exactly. They had already done all the work. But the conversations that I had with them, while they were really super excited for me to be saying, can we do this? They also said, we never intended to be an international organisation. So for them, they would have had to have changed their constitution, and it would have actually been quite a big exercise to allow us into that. You know, when it comes to paying subs and all those sorts of things, you've got currencies. And so I could understand where they were coming from, but they were so gracious. They actually said to me, if you want help, we'll help you setting it up, and we will give you all of our IP. So every document that they had set up in order to create National Women in Roofing, they actually allowed us access to. They sent me a file with all of their documents. And, you know, to have that level of support and behind us from another organisation right at the beginning was just pure gold.
Sounds amazing. With the obviously you drew a lot of the sort of content from the American Association. So the 4 pillars that we are working to now, so the education, mentoring, networking, and this will be good to have it right in front of me. Recruitment, that's the one. So was that kind of imitating what America had set up,
Yes.
or was this a bit of a deviation?
Yeah, no, it's exactly what they had set up, and it just made sense that we mirrored that, because without having your purpose, and that is the purpose of New Zealand Women in Roofing, is to help our members in those specific areas. Without having that there, you'd actually lose your purpose. With, you know, you could just be an association there to help people, but you really wouldn't have any reason to do anything. Yeah. So having those 4 pillars, and they make perfect sense. And, you know, education, that's the one that has really managed to get us up and going, is in the education space. You know, the factory tours that have gone on, you know, those sorts of things. You know, that's a huge part of educating our women as to, you know, what's going on within the industry.
Well, certainly speaking from my own perspective, I think the RANZ that you're talking about, when you had a wee little sort of setup, I remember somebody tapping me on the shoulder and going, "Hey, you just need to go and sign up that form." And I literally had no idea what was happening there, so I went and signed, and then kind of like that was my initial, I guess, interaction with New Zealand Women Roofing. But it's something that I have experienced myself in the early days of my career. You know, doing a lot of travel and doing, you know, it is a very male-dominated industry, and you didn't know about many other, you know, females in the industry. So I kind of always thought it would be great to know somebody, or, you know, have that support there. So this is awesome. So From the initial 40 people that kind of signed up and said, yeah, we are interested in getting involved, how did you find, how did all of this get going? Did you have to sort of carry on knocking in doors? How did the committee go about sort of being organized? What was that process like?
Yeah. Well, the woman from America, Heidi, was one woman who gave me so much good advice, and I'd had quite a few Zoom calls with them just to help getting it set up and what have you. And with that, the one piece of advice that she gave me, and it was a very sound piece of advice, is now that the interest is there, get a small group, no more than about 8 women who are really passionate about doing it, and you become the driving force. You set it all up. You know that the interest is there, and if you're at that point, you think, yes, I can go ahead with this. Get those 8 women together and work on it, and that's exactly what we did. The founding committee, all very, very passionate women, really could see the value and the networking and the education for the industry, and see how it could actually strengthen the industry as well too, by providing this as another avenue for people to learn and network. So we worked really hard. It was an awful lot of work right at the beginning. None of us had done any of that, setting up a constitution, the set of rules, the handbooks, all of those things. There was an awful lot of hours that were put in on a voluntary basis by those women. And without those amazing women, we wouldn't be here today.
Oh, that's amazing. For those who are listening in, I do have a couple of photos, like a little bit of a photo slide that I'll throw in just a little bit later on, and Jenny can talk us through. So she's talking about the founding members, so we've got some photos of the founding members, which is really cool. So I guess to sum it all up, New Zealand Women in Roofing is really all about those 4 pillars. So education, networking, recruitment, and I'm going to always forget one of those. 3 out of 4 is the best they can do. So is this what New Zealand Women in Roofing all about? Why should people join, and why should a lot of our members are in admin roles, and employers may not see the value in it, right? So how can the ladies that are joining us, how can they sell it to the employees, encourage them to for the employers to sponsor their membership? Why should they join? What are we offering?
Yeah. So I think the biggest thing is, and this is something I've heard over the last 6 years, is so many employers see it as a coffee club. And if we want to sell it, we need to make sure that they understand it's not a coffee club. It's not just something that every now and then we get together and have a chit chat and a coffee. That we're more than that. I think, looking back on what we have done, the scholarships that we have provided, we started off with the switched on learning, and I think we had about 7 women go through the switched on learning, and they got an awful lot of skills that they wouldn't otherwise have been exposed to, thinking about their professional development. I mean, they are the things that we can definitely provide. And if you're talking to somebody who is thinking about joining, or they're having trouble with their bosses, their managers actually grasping the idea, it's the one place within the roofing industry, and the only place within the roofing industry in New Zealand, where women can have access to professional development on their own terms and with their own industry, learning what they need to know. And employers, I've had a lot of them say to me, it's so great that we've actually got the terms of education, coming back to some of those things like the factory tours, which started at the beginning, and getting women to actually understand, what different profiles are. If you're talking about metal roofing, going into membrane, understanding the difference, the torched on and the other options that they've got there. And by sitting in your role, in the office, and most of us are office bound, actually allows us that knowledge that when somebody picks up the phone and says, hey, can you tell me about such and such, you actually have the skills or knowledge. Because that was one thing that I definitely was very passionate about at the beginning, and knowing that there are so many women out there who at times, any given time during the week, they might be the only person in the office because everybody else is out on job. And so who do I pick up the phone? You know, do I know somebody? I've got this question. And a lot of the women have said to me that now they've got that networking that actually helps them with their education, because they can then go on, pick up the phone and say, hey, Jen, I don't know about this profile that somebody's just talking to me about. Can you help me? And that's the sort of connection and education that happens. And that's huge. I mean, how can an employer actually provide that for, you know, the woman within in their industry?
A very wide network of connections that essentially are there on offer, and it's one of those you know, probably that was the main attraction for me, is, you know, coming in fairly green into the industry, you know, don't know the lingo, don't know everyone. So this was actually a really great platform for me personally in terms of my career to get about and, you know, learn and meet some of the people that we've got on here. So you talked a little bit about the scholarships. We're very lucky to have Marcia sitting in on this. So Marcia is on a committee for education for New Zealand Women Roofing. So Marcia, feel free to jump in. The committee members just had a face-to-face meeting last month in terms of what are we planning, what are we wanting to bring to the members, and what we want to offer. And I guess this kind of leads into, you know, why should you join? Why are you joining? And what are you expecting? Maybe Jenny and Marcia, you want to talk a little bit of what the members can be expecting in the, you know, in the year coming up. What sort of initiatives are we looking to drive? And yeah, what can we look forward to?
Yeah, well, if I can start that one off around the Outward Bound Scholarship. So we had a lot of people very interested in the Outward Bound Scholarship last year and had some fantastic applicants. It was so hard to actually pick one person. And if we'd had 5 places, we would have sent 5 people. Laura Cross, who won that scholarship, she's just done that course. She did it in March and she thoroughly enjoyed it. It was a great opportunity for her professional development. And because of that, we've actually decided to continue on, and we will be offering another scholarship for the November intake for Outward Bound. So keep an eye out for that. You know, if you did apply last year and you weren't successful, please apply again. You know, it's a great thing. It's a 5-day course, fantastic for personal development in all sorts of areas, and all of the skills that Laura learnt there, she said, I can bring those back directly into my role. So, and her boss is very, very pleased with the changes that he's seen in her in the short month that she's been back. So yeah, the other scholarship, I'll let Marcia talk about that we've got coming up.
Kia ora. Thanks for that. I'm not actually placed to talk about the second scholarship. I think Liz is more that, but I can, sorry. Sorry, Jenny.
I can cover that off. You carry on.
Yeah, because you can probably talk down. Listen, I just wanted to add to the why join. Now, I've only just come on and I'm very indirectly involved in roofing, but I am a woman in roofing and I'm on the committee, and I'm evidence that you don't have to be like, we're part of a big group. I'm still learning tons, like gosh, tons. But what I have brought is my passion and desire to ensure that women are given equal kind of opportunities when it comes to education and trades. And roofing is somewhere I landed a couple of years ago, and I love what this group stands for. And like I say, I'm in the construction and the building sort of space, so still quite relevant. Basically, this year what I did was listen to everything. There's some amazing learning opportunities, education opportunities that range from this type of webinar through to, like they said, the factory tours and many other things. So basically, the overview for this year's education project is to, I'm just going to read straight because it's easier for me to read it. Project aims to provide tailored support for women to confidently create their own pathways to success and achieve their professional aspirations through a focus on robust education and professional development opportunities. We seek to foster an inclusive environment conducive to women's career progression. So really that's what Jen and Jenny have been talking about. What we did recognise, and Jen alluded to it earlier, was I have here a range of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 10, and there's many more pathways for women in roofing that range from project managers, installers, educators, administrators, sales reps, business owners, designers, product experts, and there's many others. What we intend to do this year is to develop 3 kind of areas. One is a mentor support network, which we have people actively working on. I know Liz, one of our members on the committee as well, she's currently mentoring. So looking to expand the mentor support network. We're looking at designing and implementing professional skills development, so finding professional development opportunities and continuing to put those out there. And then access to resources. One thing we talked about was women in any, we need access to resources. There's so much resource out there that a lot of us don't know. We don't know what we don't know. So there's a lot of reasons. Great reasons to join. I'm going to hand back to Jenny now. If you've got some insight onto that.
Yeah, thanks very much for that, Marcia. You know, what you're covering off there just shows how wide-ranging it is in terms of our opportunities for education. Yeah, the other scholarship that we're looking to do, we're just in the early stages of developing it, but just a little bit of a heads up is we're working with Vertical Horizons, who have offered to pay for a full 3-year apprenticeship with Women in Roofing as a co-founder, if you like, of this scholarship, and behind there actually providing some financial and vocational support for one woman to go through and do her apprenticeship. So really exciting. You know, they're a very integral part and very small part of the of roofing in the industry in New Zealand, but having women on the tools is really important, and we need to be out there and striving to be those people who are advocating for that as a vocation for people to carry on with. Yeah.
With either of the scholarships now, Outward Bound, I presume that's kind of open to you're not limited by your background, by your career background, so it's really open to everyone.
Yes.
And with the Vertical Horizon, with the apprenticeship scholarship with the Vertical Horizons, whilst that is targeting ladies on the tools, so somebody who's actively wanting to get on the tools, I understand that we have had members that have gone through that just wanting to get a broader knowledge. So it's not necessarily that you do want to end up on the tools, but I understand that we have had, I think it was Rebecca Fraser who was talking about it. I don't know if she's still on, but I think she wanted just to broaden her general roofing knowledge, and so she ended up partaking in some of that. So overall, they're kind of open to, if you want to grow yourself, these are the opportunities that you've got there. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Just a word about that. The apprenticeship one. The apprenticeship is actually the qualification is being rewritten, and it is very much hands-on. So for somebody who is just looking at that, learning your general knowledge through the bookwork and what have you, it probably wouldn't be a good fit, because the assessments are going to be very, very hands-on, and so you are expected to be able to demonstrate that you know how to do certain things.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
There's also requirements with the TC around the apprenticeship of having a job because it's work-based. So you'd have to do a little bit of homework on that. I agree with Jenny. Yeah, be very cautious on that one.
Yeah.
One of the webinars we've got coming up later in the year is actually career advice and is all around how to become a roofer. So I presume we'll kind of revisit this conversation later in the year because we have had few members that are on the tools that wanted to, learn more about it and, just in general, the career path that's available in roofing. And Marcy, you've touched on it. We kind of talk roofing and you think you got to be on the tools or, admin, but there's actually so many adjacent career paths there that it's actually when you put it on paper, it's quite overwhelming almost. So we will be the committee will be putting out more information in the sort of in the coming months as we're working through that. So do watch out for that. Now, I did put through a very quick sort of slideshow with some photos that you wanted to share, Jenny, just on the sort of from the journey that we've had so far. So I'll share that, and maybe you can quickly maybe just go through some of the highlights for you.
Yep.
Hopefully I am sharing my screen and you guys can see it. Fingers crossed.
Yep.
Yes. Yes. Perfect. All right. So this must be in America, I presume, Jenny?
Yes. Yep. And this is my very good friend, Jennifer Stone. Jennifer and I were actually chair of our respective women in roofing associations together, and we're still very, very close, have a lot to do with each other, and just that common bond was very cool. So she's a very cool chick.
Very cool.
Yep, and this is Jennifer again, and Alan, who's on the left. That was the Women in Roofing stand at the International Roofing Expo. This is when I had approached them and had said, can we be part of you? And they said, no, but you have this. So, those two women in particular were very integral in actually helping set up New Zealand Women in Roofing.
Do you know how many members they have on the other side of the world, or?
I think they sit at around 400, 450, I think.
Oh, wow. So this is America, and here we are in New Zealand sitting at 179 members. So obviously you've done a really great job getting this off the ground. I think this is, speaks for itself, really. And this must be the founding committee members?
Yes, we're just missing one person out of that, and that's Angela Smith. But yes, that's the founding committee members when we launched in Queenstown in 2019. So hopefully some of those faces are familiar to you.
Yes, definitely seeing some familiar faces in there. Some very long-standing members as well, which is cool to see.
Yeah. So this was one of the very first breakfasts that Women in Roofing did for a fundraiser. This was in Christchurch, and this just shows the support of the men in our roofing community. Our lovely fairy there, John Edgington from Roofing Industries, and I'm not too sure who the man on the forklift was, but somebody had set up the breakfast table in the wrong place, and typical Kiwi ingenuity, he said, I can fix this. So he picked up the table with forklift and moved it for us.
Love it.
No eggs were damaged in that process.
Absolutely love it. And I feel like John Edgington probably deserves a PowerPoint slide of his own. I think there'll be plenty of photos of him in the books. But that's probably a good point you make. I have been asked whether, New Zealand, and I've actually got a colleague in New Zealand Steel who I have suggested they join for the technical aspect because they're frontline staff and they're facing some of these, technical queries. And I said, look, this is really good resource for that technical knowledge. And he's like, oh, I feel really a bit weird, it's New Zealand Women Roofing. And I was like, look, there's absolutely no restrictions on who can join. And since then he's actually been sitting in on quite a few webinars. So just to reiterate, everyone is welcome.
Exactly. So again, this is just showing that the roofing community is right in behind it. I think that was one of the very first breakfasts, and it was a fundraiser for, I'm not too sure, I can remember now, I think it might have been Women's Refuge, I think, and we raised nearly $5,000 for them for that breakfast. So
that is incredible.
Yeah, so it's nice to be able to be putting something back out into community, and it also lets the community know about roofing as a career as well too.
The more planning sessions, I presume, around here.
Yeah, that was a planning session in Wellington a few years ago. So you can see the committee has changed. There's a few new faces in there, but also the faces that have been there from the beginning and helping us get that along. And if you can have a look in the photo on the right hand side, you'll see that we actually, that day we had 3 children in at our planning meeting. So you can see Lucas there, who is Jade's son. Liz had her daughter there, and Debbie Harkin had her son, who I think he was about 3 months old, and you can't see it, but Marina at the back on the left-hand corner, left-hand photo, she's actually holding Debbie's baby, but she hid it behind Laverne.
That's amazing. So a well and truly inclusive environment.
Yes, absolutely. Oh, and this was just another thing, the sorts of things that we go out there and do in some of our meetings. This was a session where some girls got to actually play with some access equipment and know what it was like to go up in a scissor lift and have we drive around to the scissor lifts and the knuckle boom. So just a bit of fun, but getting to actually to understand what it's like to actually get up at height and be in that position. So
also very hands-on experience. Back to John Edgington.
Yeah.
As I said, that man does deserve all the attention and he does love it. So for anyone sitting in, look, you can find more information on New Zealand Women in Roofing website. If you haven't had a play with it, do jump on there. All of the webinars that we host are recorded and they are uploaded on the webinar on the website, so you can rewatch them, and the committee will continue sort of trying to perfect our resources and messaging and information that's available, and we'll continue to communicate this to the members. Feel free to reach out to your regional branches if you're not sure about what events are happening around you, so get involved. We encourage you to do so. Jenny, a huge thank you for coming to join us today. I know you kind of drew a little bit of a short straw almost last minute because we had a bit of a cancellation in a speaker who was meant to be doing this session. So thank you so much for joining. And Marcia, once again, also thank you for jumping in and sort of supporting Jenny there. Once again, thank you all for attending. Session will be recorded. Has anyone got any questions to Jenny? Please chuck them into the Q&A or the chat, or just jump online and ask anything you've got. I'll give it a second or two. If no one steps up, then they'll have to forever hold their peace. No, all good. All the contact details, you've got our contact details there, so please reach out if you've got any questions. Jenny, thank you so much. Hope everyone has a good, extra long weekend for some of us. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, guys. Bye.
See ya. Bye.